born ready for a situation like this. I think everybody at home at the edge of their seats trying to think who will qualify for the global championship. And we even have in contention of that top 5 or 2 teams that already have the spot themselves with Queasy and Thomas, Malabuka and Merstash. So definitely those spots can continue to trickle down that leaderboard.
100%. We've seen in the previous 2 games to this, Banyak and Swizzy had a bit of a hiccup off spawn, right? He started to be contested by 7-4s, and here in game 12, they're not even chancing it. They don't want to deal with these guys, and understandably so. They have scared everybody away from Ballers Battlegrounds. And I think with that being said, we're probably going to see them in another end game. They are just so consistent.
Yeah, there really hasn't been able to been one team to convincingly stop them. Yeah, they might have went down, I think, game 10, maybe even 9, but just wasn't enough time to really capitalize on those mistakes. As Ferdoxy actually get a little brave. It does look like he took down Malabuka. Maybe he's ready to contest Grim Gates himself instead of taking the outside loot.
I mean, finally, right? We've all been waiting for it. I think a lot more people expected Ferdoxy and Trippin to be an ever-present force in these Grimgate fights, including myself. And it never did quite materialize into what many people expected. We thought these guys were just going to roll through every game and just cause chaos. Saving it till game 12, though. Yeah, see that? Yeah. Activating the bot. They're going for the loot. Mustache can only watch.
It's honestly almost an all or nothing situation for them as well, considering, you know, 23rd place to start the game, 291 points. So they definitely need probably about like a 20 elimination victory royale just to give them a shot in that top 5. And honestly, if you are, and I'm only theory crafting here, if you are going for a 20 elimination victory royale in the FNCS finals, it would have to come through with the Grimgate medallion and all of that loot that they're going to be able to possess now.
100%. But again, as we talk about being able to push your way into the top 5 to try and secure a spot for globals, that's the kind of thing it's going to take. Tayson and Veno, though, with some struggles, they're another team that, again, needs a big game here to be able to secure themselves that spot. They came 15th last major. And so if they ain't able to get that global spot, they're going to be going into major 3, trying their best to clutch it up there. Veno now needs to win this fight if he wants to keep the dream alive. This could be the last time we see Tayson and Veno together as a duo in the FNCS. Podesai and Snazy, their rivals this season, have just hunted them down, and Veno can't escape any longer. That will be the end of the road for Podesai and Snazy at Fencing Fields, and you see the celebration come through. It means a lot to them, and we'll see where that leaves Veno and Tayson now in the FNCS and as a duo.
311 points for Podesai and Snazy to start this game. Now you get that point multiplier. Definitely looking good as Forzen and Seb immediately go down as we tune in. It's Kiro and Mappy who get those 12 points for that elimination. Over towards Classy Courts. Said a lot of people towards the outskirts. There's not a ton of action that does go on in the off-spawn drop, so a lot of those split drops rotate in this direction to try to get as much surge as possible. It's going to be a really aggressive start to the game, let's just say, where a lot of the points and a lot of positions on those leaderboard matter so much now that the win might be out of reach. Pink and Vico, 250 points. Not necessarily the performance that I expected to see from Pink and Vico or CZB and Nathan for that matter. But said, we've already seen a 162-point game. These guys could definitely move up the leaderboard and have a shot at that global championship. Ooh. And have a shot at getting thousands of more dollars.
Chap's gone down here in what is just an absolute cluster of a battle. Very, very messy situation, and that leaves Teeny fending for himself.
Patience is going to be the biggest thing for Teeny, especially with how aggressive and quick him and Chap do react in a lot of these situations. It's interesting to see how the tables have turned, and he's just peeking through the cone, getting as much information as possible, trying to figure out where these players are at, where they're rotating to, and with another team coming in, this might be the distraction that Teeny needs to try to get Chap's reboot card and disengage out of this position to try to have that better chance. Because even though You see first place and a huge gap between them and that spot. Hey, anything can still happen, and they can certainly fall down the leaderboard.
I mean, that would be such a sad way to go out for a team that has really just taken us by storm. I think the moment they got together as a duo, people who knew about both players were very excited at the prospect, right? It just felt so exciting. Two top players, top fighters. Chap, you know, a player that's yet to make his name in FNCS history. And this season's performance from them here in Grand certainly would be a way to do it again. When you look at the last 2 years of FNCS duo competition, since FNCS's, you know, mode stayed as duos, the best performance you've seen from a player playing in their first EU Grand Finals is fifth. It came from Pixie and Della. And right now, Chap has the opportunity to break that record, break that streak. And it would be deserved. He's just been phenomenal this season. Hopefully, Teeny can get him back into the game. We can see that happen.
I swear it's like interesting because it's going to change a little bit of the flow of the game with how active. There's only 75 players still left alive, and I expect it to get lesser and lesser as this one does progress. Players just trying to get as many points as possible through eliminations in this early game. That way they can attempt to close the gap, with the rest being placement points and any extra bonus eliminations they can find later on in this same game. And you can see Fordoxy by himself, just kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, with two other teams positioned close by, one of them being Cringe and Noms, who's ready to pounce at a moment's notice.
Cringe and Noms may have fallen out of favor in terms of the standings, but it's not done for them yet. A big game here could be enough to push them into one of those global championship qualifying spaces. And for a duo that almost split up during the semi-finals, Jacob, that would be quite the accomplishment.
Might be a little bit more doing that is out of their control, but they still, with a big game, 150 plus points, a couple of players and teams going down in the right order. Above them, they can see themselves advance for the global championship as they continue to chase on to Fordoxy. A couple extra shots coming in, but that's not going to distract them from their focus and their main point. They know Fordoxy's a solo, and they see it as 6 free points, some loot, and some surge that they can add to their totals.
Could really chase this guy down.
They know he's in here somewhere. They just don't know exactly where he's at. And this is where they got to be extra careful. You don't check every single one of your corners. Fordoxy with a 1 pump can try to take you out. And that's why they're pausing, keeping themselves stagnant in this position to try to get the shields up to 200 effective shield and HP. So that way they don't have to worry about that one-shot potential. Teeny's just kind of been stuck in this position for a little bit. You can already see what got him down to just being a solo. They took an early game fight, which it does look like they might have won. They got an elimination apiece. The thing that I don't know is, does he have the reboot card? Because I don't necessarily know why he would stay in that spot for so long. Hunkered down, not really able to progress his gameplay unless he needed something, which is probably the reboot. And if he doesn't have the card, that's where it's going to be very, very tough. He's by himself as a solo before any points have realistically been granted through placement.
Big game now for Teeny. An experienced player here in FNCS can't allow the moment to get to him. We know what the ultimate goal is, to try and make sure they're playing at the Global Championships in September. They've done just as much as anybody else really could have up to this point to secure that. A lot of players that are currently beneath Queasy and Thomas in the leaderboards, wouldn't mind those guys pushing themselves into the top 5, right? Because obviously if they can, it will move that slot down even further, right? Malibuka and Mustache, obviously going now makes things a bit tough, but if Queasy and Thomas can move into top 5, and the slot would go down to 6th. Andilex and Seyyto have been spectacular so far today. One of the better performing teams on the day. Hopefully hopefully can now use this as a chance to keep moving their way on up. Taking down Cammy is huge in terms of doing that, closing that gap. If they can get Seyyto down as well, that wouldn't be too bad. Wow.
Wow.
Even in the bush, Andilex just firing blindly, but firing strong. And that was one of the big questions today, Jacob, right? It was, you know, Seyyto and Cammy did well day one. Andilex and Seyyto didn't do as good. Were they going to start playing more aggressively towards Seyyto and Cammy, right? We know they land very close to each other. And it looks like today, whatever Andilex and Seyyto changed has been working a treat.
And now they get their pick of the litter, essentially. Because you know that Seyyto and Cammy consolidate all the extra heals in a base like that, taking down Cammy itself, and then the bunker in which they rotated off from Seyyto on the run, finding an opportunity to try to get Surge almost instantly. He's facing a higher elevation, so it's hard to battle back from below, but you got to kind of do and take what opportunities that you can. Especially when you are a solo, but Thunderbolt's even coming in. Seyyto really getting caught off guard by the Thunderbolt of Zeus, just taking a lot of damage there in a moment like that. It's almost like payback. Stop shooting in our direction. That's Swizzy, that's Vanya. Already have their position on the leaderboard sealed. Gotta imagine they gotta be planning already for that global championship.
I mean, for Seyyto and Cammy, again, another team where you expect to see them at global championships. Obviously, they came second last year. Their placements at the global championships and events like that are unbelievable. First at the Invitational, second at global championships. Obviously, they want to add to that tally in September this year, but they got to secure that qualification spot. Setty's got to get Cammy up and make it to endgame just to hold on to the top 3 position they have right now.
Which is almost going to be a must, because you know as well as I do how volatile these lobbies can be at times. So no opportunity is granted, but Major 3 will have some extra spots for that global championship. But you know as well as I do, nobody wants to wait until Major 3. You want to secure it here. You want to kind of take over as much as you can. And sitting in 5th place to start the game off, Vidil and Reason. 499 points, so in theory they are the line. So as long as they can have kind of a top 10, maybe even top 8 performance, you gotta imagine that's gonna seal the deal for them, secure their spot in the global championship, probably even earn some extra dollars for their pockets as soon as they pass at least one team up on that leaderboard. But for Reason and Vidil, I feel like they've done everything that they needed to do in a game like this. They're not necessarily worried about finding eliminations. They're just worried about making it to the mid and the late game, so that way they can get as many points as possible instead of just fighting it out and trying to get points that way.
Queasy and Thomas now making use of those bushes in their bases. It's Seyyto in front of them. Everything just sort of chill right now. Nobody peeking too crazy. Well, these guys have already accumulated decent amounts of damage. Oh my. As soon as I say everything chill, somebody decides to chuck a lightning bolt. Fancy that.
And as soon as that first lightning bolt, you see them dropping down, everybody starts to shoot in that direction. In the feed, Swizzy does look like he has been knocked and taken down, which isn't too much of a worry. We go on top of Rift Island to try to make that a possibility. They're close by, both Jakey and Twee. And Valniak is just literally inside the capture point. Whether it's capture or not, just a brave place to be. And there's so many teams around him on top of Rift Island that Vaniak is just ready to take a risk like this. And he almost literally has nothing to lose by being in a situation like this.
One of the less clean games we've seen from them. But when you've got the lead they've got, I'm sure they'll be fine. They won't be too upset about it.
It's just about having fun for them. Really don't have to worry about much. They have the legendary bananas as well. They can stay as long as he wants on top of Rift Island, deep within the zone. You hear some rifts going off for some other teams and players as well. They're ready to take the fight on top of Rift Island. Destru, Pyro, they're the ones getting pushed further and further towards the low ground. And you can see Vanyak just looking around, trying to figure out exactly where these players are at, just in case push comes to shove and they enter the box.
Yeah, I mean, he's hoping someone's going to need some loot and so decides to go up in there. And he'll be waiting when the time comes. Seyyto and Teeny, some of his other competitors at the top of the leaderboard, all playing as solos now. All of our best teams so far today. Again, just struggling here in this last game to hold it together. It's been a long 12 games, a tough battle, tough journey. We're seeing the effects of that on these players. Vanyak finally going to give up this island gimmick, get himself down. Seyyto going to look to use a rift maybe. Oh no, okay, he turns away from it. Baiting me there. I thought he was about to jump into the rift.
Yeah, very interesting decision to actually choose against going for the rift, but...
Oh no. Is he gonna...
Still a couple teams up there.
Vanyak's left. I thought for a second Vanyak was still maybe here for a second. They were just gonna run into each other, but Vanyak has left.
I'm not sure Seyyto even really had a big chance to even get Cammy's reboot card. I didn't really see him move back in that direction, but Vanyak does look like he's going to get his teammate Swizzy back into the game. They don't want to just win. They want to take over the FNCS. They want a victory lap on top of that one. And I think this is a chance right now. He stops short a little early, trying to get damage. He knows he's 30 below, and if he continues moving further and further into zone, it's going to either be risky situations to get Surge or no real opportunity to get Surge. So this is going to be his best bet.
I mean, he'll try. I don't know how much he'll succeed. Vanyak's pushing him, and Vanyak will get the job done. Seyyto eliminated with 600 points. So we'll see if they're going to be able to hold on to their Global Championships qualification spot. I think when looking at the rest of the competitors, you'd think that maybe they can. I think they probably will. But again, you can never be too certain. You know how these last games go.
Wow. Those are those tough moments where it's easy to start to get nervous. It's easy to start to doubt and let that mental game crumble. But this is where you got to stand strong and be the toughest. Noms and Cridge really have a case for themselves, especially with Seyyto and Cammy going down. A much harder threshold of points to reach overall, but definitely have given themselves at least an opportunity to do so. You see the top 5 lines going to be held by Vidil and Reason still at 499, but a few of those teams inside of the bubble are already down and out.
Cringe and Noms, this is huge for them right now. Onto Sohan. They need this, and they almost get it cleanly, but Cringe goes down, and that just doesn't work in their favor because he's not really going to be able to get him back up. So Noms is going to have to try and fight for the FNCS alone. But as I say that, Upward and Helechis right there, potentially about to knock on the door, and we know they're fighting prowess. Yeah, Noms wisely just getting out of the way, doesn't want to have to deal with those two.
Yeah, the longer and longer he stays in the position like that, even if he kind of boxed up on high ground, that definitely made him a target. Now he's looking at the troll under the bridge and try to really not let anybody pass him. Teeny, you can see how he got that elimination on the Tripper and just flying through the sky. Can't imagine he goes back to back. I don't think he does. Verdoxy still figured out a way to stay alive.
Just causing problems for everyone. That is what Teeny is known for being, right? He's known for being that menace in the lobby, the guy that's always just gonna be creeping, lurking somewhere, just a thorn in your side. He's done that so well.
Gonna fly out of a picnic, making some good food, got some good dessert, but he's just buzzing around. He won't go away. Doesn't matter how many times you try to swat him down. He's just one of those players that just can outlast everything, and even looking down below, he knows somebody is positioned down there. And he's just waiting, knowing that that player has to rotate and eventually leave that cover. I think he's going to try to hold his spot, get the elimination, and try to go from there. And that's the shots coming in from above. Teeny know exactly what he wants to do, when he wants to do it. And there's very few people that can deny him these opportunities.
There you go. Noms taken out of the game. Teeny needs to hold his nerve here. The banana will allow him some time here in the storm, and he'll use the minis as well just to be safe. But Relvis and Debule almost put a halt to their tournament. And even though he wasn't able to get chat back into this game, he's done a great job. He finds another one. Wow. Teeny, again, just the menace, the lobby menace. You think you're safe, and Teeny's just lurking behind you somewhere with a water-bending mythic. Ready to ruin your day.
We've seen little moments like this to where a solo, you almost got to catch them out, and you look at their loot, they're like, oof, tough spot for them to be in. But we're always have been surprised today, at the least. Teeny still making some wonders happen. Position himself inside of the zone, and he gets gifted a blessing. He has the front side as well, so he doesn't have to travel far, but there's so many teams all around him, and he's just trying to create space. 2 HP. Pixie walks are on the other side. They're knocking out the door, and he is answered by getting taken down. You see Vanya just continuing to spread the gap.
Oh my God.
It's one. It goes back to back shortly after. The victory lap is real.
No, they want the win to close it out, Jacob. They want to win the last game in style. They want to get a 4th. I don't blame them.
I mean, with a lot of our teams towards the top of the leaderboard having some struggles or taken out already, and definitely a high possibility. You see Trulex and Seyyto trying to get their surge before they fall below 23, but instantly rise to the occasion along with their storm surge. It's still only 73 above. That's not a feeling of confidence for most, especially for Trulex and Seyyto. And you know you could do more, and instantly you see them just shooting up that damage threshold, almost 300 above that leaderboard, giving them the whole feeling of safety. It's just they're not comfortable at the same time. They lack a lot of heals.
And this is a really big endgame, the biggest endgame of the season for Trulex and Seyyto. As it stands, they're in a spot that would qualify them for globals, but they want to hold on to that spot. They want to push ahead to secure that spot fully, because they don't know who's behind them in the leaderboard. You could have the pop-off game that just eclipses them.
You almost don't want to leave it to chance at all. When you leave it to the judges, anything can happen. Roban, Fast Stroke, just peeking through. A lot of this lobby here on this next zone do have a good pull, so it's not the furthest distance to cover. But that's not necessarily a good thing, because now everybody's rotating parallel to one another, where a lot of risky opportunities will come through. But Roban and Fast Stroke, because since they're one of the furthest teams up, they have all the time in the world to stagger their position before they figure out what they have to do.
Thomas and Queasy.
Just rotating up above, 208 damage. Almost gets caught off guard in very similar scenarios like they have already on the day so far, I should say the weekend. 184 damage though. For them, they already have their global championship spot. It's about cementing their legacy and their name on this region as Andilex and Seyyto move and grooving. Once again, it's going to the front side of the zone, changing layers. That way they have the safest path there.
Andilex and Seyyto now doing their best to push their way on up. Podesign's Nazy, the gentle mate's up on height, but there won't be anything gentle about this height tick, I promise you that. Vanyak, he's trying to do it again. Jacob, he's trying to give us another big solo clutch. They've given him the materials needed to do it. He's got some shields as well with the chunk splashes. The fizz as well being picked up. Oh, Seyyto and Trulex have run into a bit of a problem here. Can Trulex stay alive in this game? He needs to use every last bit of these materials to do it.
As of now, they're outside of the bubble. 50 HP and counting. Legendary Banana Pop. He is definitely up for the task. We talked about his solo clutches so far this weekend. This is going to be one for the ages, and he goes down. Trulex and Seyyto from outside of the bubble have fallen.
And one of the wolves trying to take his position is Andilex and Seyyto. We've seen them already do big things here in the FNCS, and they're trying to go even bigger in this last game. Vanyak, though, the champion, strutting his stuff in this endgame, doing his best to ruin it for anyone else. Reason, still alive in this game, 571 points. They're going to the globals if he can keep holding on.
They were the line to start the game. Did they hold on? 571 points. That was formerly the 5th place team, but the leaderboard has jumbled all around up until this point, and Andilex and Seyyto, they have the high ground for now, but there's still so many heavy hitters still left in this lobby that have a claim for the throne.
Andilex and Seyyto now need to go ballistic in this endgame if they want to be playing in the Global Championships come September. And we know that's exactly what they can do. Queasy now using this medkit in the storm to try and stay alive, try to out-heal the rest of his opposition. And he's done a great job of it so far.
We just know that 500 plus points. Queasy is close to that top 5 position. This is going to be a huge moment for him to try to stay alive, and he's bouncing around, running out of builds and running out of opportunity. One of 2 solos still left in this game, and you can see him changing layers, trying to gain some height, trying to create some space. He doesn't know where this next zone will pull, with high ground finally spotting him out. This is where things will get tough.
Queasy doing his best to stay alive, but with just 14 HP, you've got to think his time has come. It's Seyyto to take him out. They've got 6 now, and they need to start clearing out even more players.
Pixie walks on the low ground. They have full control of it. Seyyto still trying to stay alive. Combat is there as well. Seyyto just gets tagged up. 7 HP and a dream. Bahan Combat from the low ground. They're able to take down Pixie, but he gets stuck. He's stuck in the crevice. He's stuck in the hole, and he goes down for it. Final 2 position, and the game goes to Andilex and Snazy.
A big game for Andilex and Snazy. Oof, I should say. Andilex and Seyyto. I mean, big stuff there. They played height so well. They fragged out when they needed to at the end. And a bit of misfortune there from Comeback and Blaha that leads to their success. And we'll see if it was enough for them to go to the Global Championships. I mean, they were fighting from a behind position. They've been excellent today. If you were to look at just the leaderboard for today alone, they'd be going straight to Globals 100%. But after a poor start in day 1, they had to have this big day to catch up. And we'll find out if they did or not, but I know it's going to be close, Jacob.
Andilex and Seyyto have been waiting in the wings. They started that game just outside of the top 10. I can only imagine what a huge win like that will do to what it says on that leaderboard, but there's only 3 people that can break it down and let us know who's going to the Global Championship. Frankie, Takada, Midi, let us know.